Hello and welcome, my friends, to this podcast about a variety of fiber arts, but mainly knitting. Today, there's a bunch of stuff, and I'm trying to figure out a way to make this not this insanely long podcast. So I am thinking I will split it into two pieces. And today I wanted to show you what I have finished and what I have currently in the works, and then make it a separate episode what my plans are and what has just moved into my insanely oversized stash. Yes, Ike is excited to sit with me on the sofa, and because he gets some cuddles occasionally. And I want to start off with this ridiculous pair of socks where I really, really do not know how to deal with this. Look, he doesn't care about these socks. I care. Okay, let me show you. I can't believe my Buddy the Elf socks are finished. Funny story. I first saw my friend Sabrina use this yarn when our daughters were still in school and still in Albuquerque and dancing at the same dance studio. That's how long ago that was when I got this yarn. I think last year I started the socks. It's a thin sock yarn, and I've used 2.5 millimeter needles. Took me a while. I've been knitting on these on and off, and finally, I had the first sock finished, and I thought, well, that's not too much missing. Let's just start with the second sock. So I had a little bit done. I think I did that this year, and I picked the socks up again when we went on a trip to Virginia recently. And ta-da, I finished the other sock. I often like to be ready to carry it around and without needing to recount rows and blah blah, and to make sure I get two identical socks. That's why I usually write the short of the information on a little tag and keep that attached to the sock. That's what I did here. But look what, and I am holding my tongue not to cuss. Okay, because I don't know. They were already kind of looking loose, and I was paying attention to gauge, making sure I'm knitting tightly, but I have two seriously differently sized socks, even a little bit more than I showed you. What happened here? My goodness, my friends, what do I do? Do you know somebody who has two different feet? That different. I have no idea what happened. I don't know. I will recount my rows. I haven't done that yet because I looked at them and I was so incredibly frustrated that I just put them back in the little cute baggie and stuffed them in the bin with the other stuff. And then I just really don't know. But I will recount the rows, because what I do usually is I count rows from after the gusset to where I start the toe section. And that was on my little tag here. Maybe I miscounted by 10 rows somehow. So if not, I have noticed that since the accident in June, because I had to relax and heal. And I guess I did relax, and maybe sometimes my knitting was looser. But like I said, here I really try to pay attention, because I like my socks not to be, I want my socks, I want a tight fabric for my socks. So I just don't know. I will keep you posted on these. Another thing that I wanted to keep you posted is something where you're like, Doc, not again those shawls, but I have to, sorry. I wanted to show you 2 shawls that are blocked now. This one I found was not too different. After blocking, it didn't grow too much. And I really like the shape. I really think it's a great shape. Kind of like a scarf, and great colors for me, right? I know you will second that. So this is the Zaria shawl, and now that I showed it blocked, I can put the instructions away. I mean, the pattern printout. I like my paper printouts. I tried to get away from them and only go online, but it's just not for me. So okay, I'm really happy with this. Like I said, it's very soft yarn. I like the shape. Great project. No regrets. Okay, I'm back. So the next one was the Mariamed shawl, a lace shawl that I showed you. It is now blocked. And while I love larger shawls, this was just one skein of a lace yarn, and I increased it a little bit. I increased the size. Where did I put the pattern? Right here. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. And it grew just enough for me not to complain about it, and really where I can double it up. And I love it. And the yarn was a gift from a German knitting friend whom I've not met in person. So it was very special, because she left the yarn at the Albuquerque yarn store when we couldn't come together, because I was out of town when she was here in Albuquerque. And she left this gift, the yarn, for me. How sweet and how kind. Yeah, so very special. And then I have also blocked my Only Good Vibes. I didn't keep them, can't find the pattern printout, but it's another one that you saw multiple times on the podcast as I was working on it, and also as I had it finished. And pre-blocking, but now it is blocked and it is even nicer. Yeah, because the lace is now nicely open the way it's supposed to be, and it's 2 skeins, no, a little bit more than 2 skeins of Zia Wool's Sugarloaf, which I love. As you know, if you've ever heard me talking about my yarn, I'm the dyer behind Zia Wool's yarns, always trying to capture the spirit of New Mexico, I should say. Yeah. So I love where I live, and I love the light here, and I love the people here, and it's just a good place for me. That has done me good, except for when I was in Colorado and got into a head-on collision, but that was not in New Mexico. Okay, my friends, last time I cannot believe I did not show you a project that I had finished, and that is something that I came up with and I showed you before, but not in the last episode. And I'm talking about the dress for my goddaughter who lives in Germany. And the dress is now finished. It was finished already last time, and I just forgot to show you. And and you see the width, so now you know why I knew it wasn't going to be a sweater. And it's probably still huge, but we'll see. I did not measure or take a lot of, a lot of, you know how sometimes you get these standard measurements from free patterns. I did not do this here. I just went by feel. Yeah, I deserve it. If this dress is too big, I deserve it. To have to wait another 5 years for her to be able to wear it. But all in all, I think it's just very cute. And the yarn is Elspeth Lavold Silky Wool. The purple is one of the standard colors, 1, 2, 3, if I remember correctly. And the other yarn that I used in the yoke is was a white that I speckle dyed to match the purple. And I used a stitch pattern initially that is also a stitch pattern that is utilized in my hat pattern, Desert Dancer. But of course, I needed to gain width in the yoke, so I altered that to work for the dress. Yes. And now, hold on 1 second. But since we just ended a super fun knit along, and I have recorded a special episode for the end of the Desert Sun Cal 2024. But now we have started a new knit along, which is the Duke Mania 2024. We've done the Duke Mania before, and it's usually in connection with preparation for myself for a studio tour open house here. And this year that's going to happen on December 8th. And of course, I will make a lot of Duke City mitts again, as I always do. And I love to use hand spun yarn. And so to kick that off, I have cast on my first pair on December 1st. And the knit along is going to run until December 8th. But if you want to participate and be eligible to win something, then please do make a project on Ravelry. Make a project page on your account for the mitts, please. It's a free pattern, and so that way you can win. But in order for me to figure out what's really new, please put your Duke City mitts for this year's knit along also in the Zia Wools group on Ravelry. So just a quick picture about what's finished. And I have finished my first pair, and I say finished even though, well, I guess you're used to that, right? Even though I have not woven in my ends, but whatever. Yeah, I love to use hand spun yarn because I've made these so many times. For me, then it's more fun and more enticing to have an exceptionally special yarn where I don't know what's going to happen when I knit it up. And that's the case usually with hand spun yarns. And I have, where did I put my notes? Hold on. Yes, the yarn I've used here is a was hand spun into a 2-ply yarn from a superwash merino spinning top by Yarn Inc. And I used 4mm needles, 4 times 8 stitches. Yes. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of your Duke City mitts. I've already seen a lot. Of course, it's going to be nice if you also enter with the hashtag, not enter, I should say, but put up your project on Instagram if you have an account and just use the hashtag. That way we have it all gathered on Instagram as well. And of course, on Ravelry, you can also post your project page. I mean, add the hashtag to your project page. But like I said, make a project in your account and also post the finished mitts in the Zia Wools group, please, because otherwise, I'm going to go cuckoo to find the ones that are the new projects that were created this year. It's going to be too hard. I know a lot of you already have made several, more than one pair, so yeah. And I have been spinning a little bit because I wanted some yarn for the Duke City mitts. Like I said, because I love so much how they look like, and I have spun this. I try to spin not as fine. Normally I'm a fine spinner, but these I made a little heavier. That is, I think, a little bit, maybe 55 grams, I'm guessing, close to 2 ounces. And this was a braid of Ramblay top from, I think she shut down her business, unfortunately. Direful Yarns. And look at that. That was really, really fun to spin. Lovely colors. Yeah. Electric Mayhem. Yeah, I think I should be able to get 2 pairs of mitts out of this. So that's it about the Dukes. Oh no, there's another skein. I see it over there. Hold on. I thought, wow, why did I not keep the little bit leftovers from that first pair? So that was 2 ounces, and this is what I have left. And I did want to tell you 4mm needles, and sometimes I knit the 4mm ones with 4 times 9 stitches. And by the way, this is how I keep track. I'm going to keep brief notes. I attach a bit of a yarn sample where it says what the yarn is, because that will be tagged as superwash merino then, of course. And there's going to be a little sample of yarn, and also the stitch count and the needle size, and sometimes row information and stuff. So here you can see that I have done that in the past as well. And yeah, and so sometimes I just go and I'm like, oh, this looks like the same weight of yarn, and I go and I then choose the same needle size and stitch count without, I don't even use my own pattern anymore, as you can imagine, having done that many. But in this case, I did want to mention that, you know, I have big hands, and usually I thought, well, this is going to be 4 times, like I said, 4 times 9 stitches, and not the 4 times 8 that I told you I did. And the reason was I cast on and knitted a few rounds with 4 times 9 stitches, and it turned out that it felt very loose to me. And the reason being that this is a very bouncy yarn. So it must have had a good crimp, that you get a lot of elasticity from the finished knitted product, or in the finished knitted product. Yeah. So I went back and I did the I mean, I ripped it out. Sorry, can I talk, please? So I ripped it out and went back to the 4 times 8 stitches. Yeah. Yes, my friends, and that's about the Duke Mania. I hope you will join us, and I'm looking forward to see your Dukes. And this was the other yarn that I spun. I know that she had a nice sale on Etsy before she shut down, I think, by now. I'm sure she's going to be shut down by now. I don't know when I bought that. The fibers earlier in the year, Direful Yarn. Or you look her up. Maybe you're lucky. Yeah. This, again, 2-ply yarn, spun a little bit heavier, maybe worsted, maybe heavy DK, more like worsted, I would imagine. Yeah. And that's my hand spoon. Love it. Love all the colors. And this, by the way, was, I don't think I said anything about this. This was Zia Wool's local New Mexico Rambouillet hand spun. Yeah. I mean, hand spun, of course, all is hand spun, but this is dyed by myself. And yep. That was the last of that. I may have a little bit more in the same colorway, but I don't have that fiber anymore. And now you will probably remember that I started the Cantarelli shawl, did I start it or did I talk about it last episode? Yeah, very much loving the yarn. This is a yarn by Stitch Together Studio, and I pulled out another skein of hers, which also has a heavily purple in it. However, I wanted to start with this, but then I thought I can't make myself do that, because this is like Zia Wool's honeysuckle with cashmere and silk but this one is just a merino nylon. So I think, no, I gotta do all the same yarns. I had dyed for myself, and I still have a little bit of that first ball left. I had dyed up this to match this. And this is probably going to look familiar. If you've been here before, you'll remember this is one of my favorite colors. And this particular dye lot or intensity of this color, I have named Match of the Day. Kind of like play on words. If you don't get it, catch of the day, match of the day. Yeah, I really like them together, and you will see why this was such a good choice, because it looks so absolutely lovely together. Yeah. Like I said, I was in Virginia recently. My husband and I, we had to go. We had this 1 week stay that would have expired. It was kind of like a free, very cheapo stay that we had to take. And so I knitted a lot on this while I was on the plane and also there, because sometimes, you know what we do, because I was still recovering. So I didn't want to overexert myself. And I told my husband, yeah, you go do that, and I will just sit somewhere and wait for you and knit and enjoy an audiobook. And that's what I did. But you may wonder, what are you going to do when you don't want to use this? And I will show you, but yet again, I forgot to grab the skein of yarn, so give me 1 second. Yes, so I dyed up something to complement this. This will not be a regular colorway because I don't copy other dyers, most certainly not consciously to make it my own. But in this case, I wanted to create something similar and complementing to use when this runs out. And here it is. I think I nailed it pretty much. Happy about it, and I know there's some orange in there too, like here. Where is it? Cover it up. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to continuing on this. I thought there was some orange somewhere to match that, but I guess no. Okay, doesn't matter. Yeah, so this is my Cantarelli shawl, and I am using 3.5 millimeter needles, should be. Yes, Chagu 3.5 millimeters. And now that I'm on the it's like, I've had that before, and you know how that goes. You're like, oh my gosh, I've turned the corner. I'm almost done. But then you knit, you keep the same stitch count, and you go back and forth and only decrease in this section 1 stitch, and the shawl is only done once this meets this. And on top of that, folks, I will have 2-colored brioche, which makes me a little bit nervous because I haven't done that in a very long time, but I'll be fine. But still, it makes me a little bit nervous. Yeah, But the shawl is going to be the bomb, don't you think? I have all of these light blue, bluish, greenish shawls, but here I'm purple for a change. Yes, and like I said, stitched together. Okay, let's see. Yeah. This is called Rust Bucket, and that has no silk, no cashmere. And this one was called Pixie Puke, and it has, same as my honeysuckle, it has 20% silk and 10% cashmere. So really, really lovely. Yeah. So that's this shawl. And then you're going to want to know, what else have you been working on? And yes, there has been another project that has consumed me and that I've been working on the past days and even longer than that, quite diligently. And I'm very much in love with this. And you may also guess what it is. It is the Murano squares. Oh my gosh, you guys. It's every bit as nice as I hoped it was going to be, even though I wish I could make it bigger. That's the only thing I wish. I am using, so in the pattern, she is using she said you can use a DK yarn or a fingering or an Aran weight yarn, and you would change the needle size according to the yarn you're using. So for me, this is not really, I mean, this one is a sport yarn, and my contrasting yarn, it's 400 yards for 4 ounces. That's also it's a fingering, that's for sure. But it works out okay. Here, it works out fine together. And I chose to use the 4.5 millimeter needles, which is a little bit bigger for the yarn, because I thought with the stitch pattern, it's gonna be dense anyways, and I wanna gain a little bit of size by using the larger needles. And if you see this, you know I made the right decision when I changed my main color last time. Yeah, here we are. Come on, what's happening here? Yeah. It's just so nice. And for the background color, I mean, the main color changes color ever so slightly in between. And right now what I've done is I have weighed this to see how much I'm using for one of these sections. And it's about 3 grams right now when my rows are fairly long and still growing. So I am thinking right now that I will have about 9 more squares. Let's see where that gets me. I mean, how much that is. 12, 6, 8, 9. So that's like this much. That's quite a bit. You know, it's not a huge shawl, but it's not a small one either. And I love what the yarn does here. This yarn is classified as sport. And initially I had 2 balls of yarn, and they are, each ball of yarn has 2.5 ounces, and it is called Crazy, Shepherd's Wool Crazy. That's the tag that I have. It's reasonably priced. And I don't know how you, wait, I did find them on Instagram. So if you love this yarn, I'm sure you can get in touch with her. I know she posted some pictures recently when she was at a festival somewhere where she had a booth, and she had a lot of this. I don't think there's colorways, and that's fine. What happened with me is that I had a color, I used this lighter color, which has a green and a light blue, and then it changed into this. And so at first my plan was to finish this ball and then start with this one. But then I thought, no, doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it would have been fine, but I thought I'd rather, and that's what I did here. I'd rather go from that green and light blue to the other green and light blue, and you can see it ever so slightly here. I see it because I still have the ends hanging in the back. So it's roughly here. You can see it's a little bit lighter here and darker here. And then I thought, I'm going to go from this to this and probably not at all use that light blue color, even though it's gorgeous. I mean, I would love to. And there's even a kind of like a lilac in between, but I still have quite a bit of this. Yeah, so I think I'm going to finish everything with the green and go from this to this. And that way I'm going from the purplish into the green, into green, into darker green. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. That was that. And what I did to make my life easier, because it took me a while to get used to the pattern. I mean, I still, sometimes at the beginning of the row, I still have to look it up. And that's all you need, one page in the pattern to work on the shawl. And so I copied, I enlarged, I laminated, and now I go ahead with a marked, with my rows marked. And sometimes I even go per section, you know, I go from one section to the next to jump, because it's one stripe versus one stripe. Yeah. That's all. And this is what I've been knitting on obsessively. And last thing I do need to show you is something that I have meant to make or to do for quite some time, and I have talked about it before. If you've been here for a long time, you may remember that I made a sweater for my brother out of sock yarn leftovers from my mom. My mom was an avid, really, really crazy sock knitter. That's all she did in the last years of her life. And I got a lot of sock yarn leftovers from her. And I made that sweater for my brother because it was so meaningful. I held the sock yarns together and it was just a nice rustic sweater for outdoors in the woods. He never goes into the woods, but I'm like chopping wood and that kind of thing, heavily leaning toward the green. And I thought, I want to make that same kind of sweater for myself in all the girly colors. So the other day I started preparing for that. I pulled out all the colorful colors of sock yarn and I thought, yes, I'm going to do that now. And it's going to be a quick knit because I'm going to be in Germany soon. And I never like saying that here on the podcast because I'm thinking if any criminals are out there scouting me out, if you think about breaking into my house, there's house sitters here. So don't you even think about it. Okay, that was that about the criminals out there. Because we live in a crappy world where there's people out there who don't have anything good on their minds, but we will think positive. We do have an alarm system too, but I still, well, you know what I mean, right? So I pulled out all the girly colors and the colorful duck colors, and I have a lot, as you can see. I put them in a bin. I was ready to rock. I sat down and I rewrote what I did for my brother. I did that in the morning. I copied it. And then I did my math for myself, where I thought, what's going to work for myself? Oh yeah, I did it all. And then I started knitting. I got far enough to say, okay, this is done with the short rows. And man, that felt crunchy and itchy. And I thought, I'm not going to be able to wear that. I won't. So I kept thinking about it. I kept touching it. And on that day, I'm telling you, I don't know what was going on, but every single effing yarn, sorry, pardon me, I don't know what's going on with me today, being in a cussy mood, but it all felt so scratchy no matter what I touched. This scratchy. This scratchy. This scratchy. Oh my gosh. And if you have ever dealt with German sock yarn, just like opal or something, you'll know that's rustic for sure. That is scratchy. So I really didn't know what to do after I got this far. And it's especially that freaking ribbing that feels so hard and everything. Maybe I should just, okay. I keep on thinking about all of my options. I put it over my head, around my neck, and that's why a few stitches came off. So what I am thinking now is to start over, and what I will do is redesign my neck. And do it more the way I did it with my Angora sweater and the other one where I used the alpaca silk held with another yarn, where I'm gonna have it not go in so close to my neck, but go and more here and go a little bit lower, because here is where I'm so sensitive, I think. May change tomorrow, if you know me. So that's my idea right now. And what changes with that is that I will do the start of the sweater. If I do it that way, I will do that without ribbing. And then you pick up stitches around the edge when the sweater is done. But that way, if it's really like, if I say, wow, it's more the ribbing that feels so hard and scratchy, I can make a tiny ribbing and maybe even go down a needle size. What I'm using right now is, I think, 4.5. Come on, I know I have it here somewhere. I am pretty sure it's 4.5. I didn't bring my notes, but yeah. That's the plan right now. But aren't these colors just so gorgeous? And it's so fun to do this with 2 yarns held together. I could, of course, do a best of both worlds sweater where I hold a commercial with a hand dyed, but if it's really gonna be a scratchy sweater, I don't want to use up all my hand dyed and turn soft and yummy hand dyed into a scratchy sweater. You know what I mean? So we will see. I really think what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip this out, start over, change the neckline, redo my math, and then, yeah, and then hopefully that's going to work out well. But I also don't want, I thought about using just one strand. No, but the concept of going about this, so if that is something that interests you, so 4.5mm needles, so I get kind of like a DK weight, and I grab one ball of yarn that I have a lot of yarn off, and I combine it with these little bits that I change more frequently, and I change the bitsy sections, the bitsy yarns on the back. I mean, I do all my color changes, yarn changes on the back of the sweater, so that if it should be visible, it is no problem because it's on the back of the sweater. And that's my dilemma with that sweater, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. And that's all from me for now, my friends. I will get back to you soon. I've tried to plan it so it's not going to be too long, the video. Talk about not so long, 52 minutes. Sorry about that. There you go. It's going to be a long one. And then there's going to be a separate video, new stash and plans. All right. I hope you're all doing well. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you again in the future. I wish you happy knitting. Bye.